Hey, I'm Dr. Wilson. I'm a PhD molecular biologist, and welcome to another COVID debunking video. So, the Florida Surgeon General is calling for a halt in the use of COVID mRNA vaccines, citing claims of human safety issues. Why is he doing this? Well, luckily, recently he also gave an interview on Del Bigtree's show, The High Wire. If you don't know who Del Bigtree is, Del Bigtree has been a big-time anti-vaxxer for several years now. He doesn't support the use of any vaccine ever, and he's done some pretty colorful things in the past to express those views. I'll put a link in the description if you want to read more, but basically he compares himself to a Jewish person during the Nazi Germany era. So pretty disrespectful and ignorant stuff, and the Florida Surgeon General went on his talk show to talk about the COVID mRNA vaccine. So let's stick to the science and talk about what the Florida Surgeon General, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, says about COVID mRNA vaccines, why he's incorrect, and why this whole situation is just ridiculous.
I asked at Dr. Caleb FDA to address the DNA fragments detected in mRNA COVID shots and how they are hitchhiking into human cells. DNA integration into the human genome and oncogenesis are known risks, even acknowledged by a U.S. FDA in 2007. Here's the actual guidance he's referring to. Theoretical concerns. Remember, this is the FDA writing this. Theoretical concerns regarding DNA integration include the risk of tumorigenesis if insertion reduces the activity of a tumor suppressor or increases the activity of an oncogene. In addition, DNA integration may result in chromosomal instability through the induction of chromosomal breaks or rearrangement. Sounds like really bad stuff, right?
That's Del reading the tweets from Dr. Ladapo, claiming that DNA in COVID mRNA vaccines is posing a human health risk, and that the FDA actually supports this view. Before we start listening to Ladapo himself, let's look first at what the FDA actually says and what the literature in the scientific community actually says. What Del was reading off the screen and what Ladapo was quoting was a section of an FDA document explaining why there are limits on things like residual DNA impurities in biologics, including vaccines. And they cite the reason as a theoretical risk of oncogenesis, or the formation of cancer. So let's look into the details of what this theoretical risk actually means. The theoretical risk here is that DNA that comes from the manufacturing process of any vaccine, whether it be from cells or synthetic DNA used in any step of the manufacturing process, if that DNA contains oncogenes, or genes that code for proteins that can promote cancer, then that is a risk. It's for that reason that removing DNA from the manufacturing process of any biologic or any vaccine has been a standard practice in pharmaceutical manufacturing for decades. Not only is it a standard practice, but it's part of quality control to check for the residual levels of DNA left over in the final product to make sure that you actually removed most or all of the residual impurities. And mRNA vaccines are no different. Methods for how to remove residual DNA impurities from mRNA vaccines have been talked about since at least 2014. Furthermore, there are no oncogenes involved in the manufacturing process of mRNA vaccines. The DNA used is a plasmid. It's a circular piece of DNA that's used to make copies of the mRNA vaccine in an enzymatic process. The DNA codes for 0 oncogenes. It's just DNA that exists to help the plasmid replicate in bacteria so you can get more of the plasmid, and genes that actually code for the spike protein, which is not an oncogene. In other words, spike protein is not a protein that drives the production of cancer cells. There are people who have claimed that elements on this plasmid are concerning. You'll often hear them talk about SV40 promoter and whatnot, but these elements are not oncogenic either. How do we know? Well, we have experiments showing that. In the early 2000s, scientists did experiments where they looked at what happens when they take plasmid DNA and they put it in cells in culture. This experiment involved a plasmid, which, what do you know, contains the exact same elements that people are worried about when it comes to COVID mRNA vaccines. It contains SV40 components, which just exist to help maintain the plasmid in bacteria or to promote the expression of a particular gene you want to encode on the plasmid. Scientists use a transfection reagent to deliver ungodly amounts of this plasmid DNA to cells in culture, and they got zero production of cancer cells. No cancer cells formed because of the presence of this DNA. and those results were the same in the mice. This DNA did not cause tumors. It was only when you put actual oncogenes onto those plasmids, and you give ungodly amounts of DNA, and you have two different plasmids with two different oncogenes on them, both in very high amounts, that you get tumors forming both in culture and on the mice. It's the oncogenes that are the risk, not just DNA itself. This is echoed by FDA scientists in their contributions to the WHO's guidance on quality, safety, and efficacy of vaccines, where it states that the major risk for residual cell substrate DNA has been considered to be due to the oncogenicity of the DNA, particularly if the cell substrate is tumorigenic or is derived from a human tumor. DNA oncogenicity has been considered to arise mainly through the introduction of a dominant oncogene, as oncogenesis arising through insertional mutagenesis has been considered to be an improbable event. In English, that means that the risk comes from if the DNA encodes an oncogene, or a gene that codes for a protein that can promote cancer. It does not come from the random insertion of foreign DNA pieces into the genome, thus disrupting the DNA and causing cancer, which is what Ladapo is saying is an issue. The data do not support that. There will be more on this later, but let's get to what Ladapo actually has to say.
This issue of the risk of DNA integration, fortunately, it's something that historically has been very low risk, but it gets a little technical. But with these mRNA vaccines, you've got basically a passport into human cells. So whereas in the past, DNA would have a hard time ever getting into a cell, let alone getting into the nucleus of the cell, now you have these lipid nanoparticles that everyone is very excited about with the mRNA vaccines, that they carry mRNA in, but they almost certainly also carry DNA in. So it completely changes risk analysis.
No, it doesn't. Like I just explained in the experiment that uses the plasmid that contains the same components that Ladapo is worried about, when that plasmid is combined with a transfection agent that is designed to get it into cells and applied to cells in a dish, it doesn't cause tumors. Furthermore, there are a series of experiments done in mice where plasmid DNA is injected into mouse muscle tissue and integration events are searched for. The scientists observed that the DNA got into the cells, got into the nucleus, and actually stuck around there for up to 6 months. But despite that, they couldn't detect any integration events. And they stated that if integration events did happen, it happened far below the natural rate of spontaneous mutation. Later, the same group did other experiments to say what happens when we change the method that we use to get DNA inside the cells. And they used a technique called electroporation, which is an extremely efficient way, more efficient than lipid nanoparticles, to get DNA inside of cells. While they were able to this time measure integration events, the rate was still extremely low. And the mice in these experiments were given 50 micrograms of plasmid. That's over 1,000 times the highest limit of residual DNA allowed in biologics. So with over 1,000 times the amount of DNA and using a more efficient delivery method than lipid nanoparticles, these researchers still had a hard time measuring any integration at all. In their discussion, they state, while observing plasmid integration in vivo, that's in an animal, is unusual, the level of integration is relatively low. Using a worst-case calculation, an integration frequency of 1,000 copies per microgram of DNA is still below the spontaneous rate of gene inactivating mutations. So when it comes to gene inactivating mutations, which are the potentially cancer-causing mutations that Ladapo is apparently worried about here, even when you have over 1,000 times more DNA than the highest limit that the WHO sets for residual DNA in biologics, you still get a mutation rate that is below the spontaneous rate of gene inactivating mutations. And that's again with all the other caveats like the efficient electroporation and the intact DNA versus broken up fragments. All of that, and you still end up with a concern that is basically theoretical. So does Ladapo go into any kind of detail in this interview about any of this or why it doesn't convince him?
Yeah, I got to tell you, I feel terrible talking about this stuff because I try to avoid dragging people through very technical scientific stuff.
Actually, it's fine, Ladapo. We can go into details as much as you want. So lay it on me. I'm ready.
Everyone knows that DNA it's the building blocks of life. And in fact, it's from God. It's literally part of our connection with God. We just have to do our due diligence to make sure that that DNA isn't ending up somewhere we don't want it to be, and especially that that DNA isn't finding its way into our human DNA. Very simple stuff. And the problem here is that that due diligence hasn't been done. And the FDA wants you and me to believe that that's okay. And that is not okay. And really, there are expletives for that. I mean, it's so disrespectful to God's work in creation to not do your due diligence with this type of work.
Due diligence has been done. Not only is there the work that I just talked about and much more in the literature to support the fact that these residual DNA limits are safe and that the DNA amounts found in COVID vaccines are not harmful, but there has been a lot of work on COVID mRNA vaccines to make sure that the residual DNA limits are below that threshold. These are routine quality control manufacturing tests that are done both by pharmaceutical companies, by third parties, and sometimes by health regulatory agencies themselves. And for billions of doses of COVID mRNA vaccine delivered all over the world, every single batch of which was tested against the same quality control standards and had to pass the exact same quality control standards. And there has never been a credible issue raised with any of these quality control results. So either it's a big conspiracy or you believe the shoddy, sloppy work that I've debunked in my previous 2 videos on the topic. If you want to check out those videos, I'll be linking them in the description or somewhere on screen here. And just to give you an idea of how poor and sloppy they are, the first preprint that raised this issue said that they got their vials of COVID vaccine that they tested from an anonymous sender in the mail and they were shipped without cold packs. I mean, that's just bad. And that's where the sloppiness starts. I go into much more in my 2 videos. But it just goes to show how ridiculous this situation is, that a Surgeon General of a state is referencing such shoddy work and also not bothering to really read the literature and understand where these regulations come from and if the risks that he is claiming exist actually exist and have been tested, which they don't exist and they have been tested extensively.
Yeah, no, totally, Dal. There will be a reckoning eventually, and frankly, I think when
I wonder what reckoning he's talking about there. Hopefully it's not the same reckoning that Del Bigtree talks about, which is, in his mind, Nuremberg 2.0, which is essentially something anti-vaxxers invoke when they say that they want to see health officials and doctors and scientists punished for what they said during COVID, usually by execution. So, hopefully not that.
We will eventually one day destroy this species. You cannot have a product that everyone takes and then go, oops, oh, sorry, contaminated everyone's DNA, no turning back now. I mean, it is so scary, this, level of recklessness.
Yeah, so they're scared that the DNA in COVID vaccines is going to make it to your reproductive organs and change your DNA and change your kid's DNA. And wow, it's just pretty wacky stuff. But furthermore, to this point, if these people are so worried about tiny residual amounts of DNA that is non-functional from biologics or vaccines getting into their cells and changing their DNA, they must be just panicked over natural DNA viruses. These are viruses like herpes viruses, which practically everybody has, or human papillomaviruses, or adenoviruses. These are all DNA viruses that commonly circulate, infect our cells, and inject their DNA into our nuclei on a pretty regular basis. I mean, you shouldn't be concerned about it because our cells have plenty of mechanisms by which they can recognize foreign DNA that is both in the cytoplasm or in the nucleus and eliminate it so that, the DNA doesn't hang around and potentially integrate because our cells like to protect our DNA. But the fact that they're spreading so much fear and trying to create this doomsday scenario around tiny amounts of non-functional fragments of residual DNA in life-saving drugs and not spreading fear about viral DNA that is pretty regularly being injected into the nuclei of your cells says a lot. And it's no wonder Del is trying to get your attention and scare you. He just got named the head of communications for Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s presidential campaign and included that announcement next to an opportunity to pay him $1,000 a month to have a Zoom call with him. And that's really what it comes down to. I've been watching Del Bigtree's videos for years, and The guy's a showman. He always tries to rile up his base and tell you that the apocalypse or the reckoning or the judgment day is just around the corner. Just keep it up and keep enraged and keep listening to him. And one day something will happen. And now a state surgeon general is rubbing shoulders with him and indulging in all of his nonsense. And that is just wild. Florida deserves better, so hopefully they get a new surgeon general in the next election cycle, because this just ain't it.
And by the way, Dal, we only know about 1 or 2% of what our DNA does. The rest of it, almost all of our DNA, is a complete mystery known only to God.
Anyway, if you want to read all the research that I talked about in this video for yourself and dive into more details that I didn't have time to get to, I'll include all the links to all of those studies and research in the description below so that you can read them for yourself. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to subscribe so you can join me next week, where I'll be debunking some more funky stuff. See you then.